My name's Pastor Brett Kennett, and I'm the District Pastor for Congregational Support in the Lutheran Church of Australia, Victoria, Tasmania District. And I'm here with two friends and colleagues, Pastor David Schmidt and Pastor Stephen Schultz. David is a Missions Director in the LCA Queensland District, and Stephen's a Missions Director and Assistant Bishop in the LCA South Australian District. That's a bit of background for you if you're watching from outside our circles, but this video is primarily for Lutheran pastors right now in Australia here as pastors of the LCA, where we are experiencing various continued stresses and pressures because of the COVID-19. We wanted to talk about three things today, and we'll keep it fairly freeform, but I'll throw over to Stephen perhaps first. And what are we experiencing at the moment, Stephen? What's happening out there with the pastors where you are?
All sorts of stuff's going down, isn't it? The fellas will know this. You talk with your colleagues, you know who's under pressure, you know the pressures that you're under yourself, and it's many and varied. And what we're discovering is that there's lots of different kinds of pressures that are being experienced. Some are between pastors and their leaders, between pastors and their congregations. Some they feel as though they've got their leaders on board but not their congregation on board, or vice versa. And many of these issues have probably been pre-existing as well. And COVID's really just opened up the cracks, exposed them, brought them to light, which is it's a positive thing in a sense, because it has brought it out in the open, but then you've got to deal with it. And when your energy levels are not particularly high, because many of the guys have just been slaving away in all sorts of different ways to try and get online and try and pastorally care, lots of different upskilling that's been required. So again, we acknowledge the work that's been done. And in some places, Victoria's gone back with the second wave, but we kind of start to come out from under COVID, and we think that, the worst is over, but that's when we've hit the wall, because we've come back into our communities face to face, and we thought this is what it's going to look like now, and it's not been realised according to that. So there's some of the sorts of pressures that are recognising out there in church land, and every journey is different, but yeah, lots of people under pressure.
We've been meeting as colleagues once a week and sharing across the various districts of the Lutheran Church. Yeah, and it is different now because of the dramatic lockdown here in Melbourne, where I am, and going to a heightened state of restrictions once again. Those restrictions not as severe for yourselves, but all the Victorian jokes have stopped because we feel your compassion for us, and we also sense a bit of nervousness on your part about what could yet unfold in other states here in Australia. I should give a shout out to WA, New South Wales and New Zealand pastors who might be watching as well. So different parts of the church going through different things at the moment. For us here in Victoria, there was a sense a month or so ago that we're coming out of it, and then we've gone back into it. And that has been really hard, much harder the second time around. So, yeah. But David, you wanted to mention a couple of points?
Yeah, look, thanks, Brett. I think one of the key things that I think we all need to recognise is that we all travel differently. And some of our pastors who might have been feeling as though they had a lot of energy in the midst of it, if we go back into the sorts of lockdowns that you guys are in, it's very easy that we might feel as though we won't bounce back as quickly. And I guess there are a few things that go in my mind in that space. One is this a time even now where some of us who are perhaps not in lockdown like you are, but some of us can actually start thinking about what are the things we would do differently if we move into lockdown again, so that we can start preempting that? Because I think that being able to feel as though you've got some control into what the future may or may not bring actually adds a little bit of capacity. So I think that's one thing that's really, really important. I think the other thing as picking up what Steve was saying, for some of us, we came out thinking, this is the new, there's a lot of good stuff that we've learned, let's keep that going and so forth. But what we've tended to do is try to keep that going and then layer on all the old stuff that we used to do. And so in some respects, I think we need to wrestle with what is the stuff that we need to let go of to be kind, not just to ourselves, but to be kind within the church communities as well. And that's actually a significant missional conversation, because as people who want to be Christ incarnate into the world, we've got to have capacity to be Christ incarnate to the world. And I think for me, one of the things that I would encourage each one of us to find is make sure that we have time to find that rest, to find that restoration time, which for some of us, it might be in sitting in silence, or for some of us, it might be reading a Bible, or for some of us, it might be going for a walk or going for a bike ride or whatever, but making sure that we maintain that space so that we can reconnect with God in the way in which we find works best for each one of us, and having that permission to do that.
Thank you, David. I think the thing that I would add to that is from a supervisory point of view, from pastoral supervision point of view, attend to your own support network. These weekly meetings with you guys have been really life-giving to me. I don't feel alone because we're working in the same space. So I would say to brother pastors, attend to your support network, the various ways and means that you find nourishing to yourself. And if you're in lockdown, you will find that your world has become smaller. That's my experience. And some of the things that you used to do, which were triggers which were in themselves nourishing things, in my case, getting in the car and driving to the office. Who knew that was a time when I would be on the phone, and usually on the way home on the phone to my family, to my mum. I stopped doing all that in the first lockdown, if you like. This time around, I'm trying to be very much more intentional about nurturing some of those practices. So stay in touch. The other thing we would say is reach out. Don't let yourself get isolated, but reach out, ask for help early. And that includes asking for help from us if you feel comfortable with that. Any other comments from you, David or Stephen?
Oh, look, I'd just add, I've been encouraged by the fellas that have recognised the signs. They've not just ploughed on and gone, Protestant work ethic, got to take a hit, this is my sacrifice, my cross to bear, that they've all gone, no, actually, I'm done. And they've communicated that, and they've taken time out, and they've been talking with people, they've been getting help from health professionals, so they're dealing with their physical health as well as their emotional, spiritual health. So I've been encouraged by that, but I guess they're the ones that I'm aware of. I'm sure that there are guys out there, a bit like me, that go, let's soldier on. But those networks, and it doesn't have to be, for some they can do the professional kind of help, but if it's just a friend that you do trust to have that conversation, that can make a world of difference. So yeah, I'd really encourage that. You're not alone in this journey.
Thanks, Stephen, and thank you, David. And as we sign off, just we want to say that we thank you for the work that you do, and you're at the front line of ministry. We're here to support you, and you're in our prayers. Thanks for the encouragement about these videos as well. God bless. Bye.
Blessings, everyone.